Hey lovelies, it's Victoria and I'm here with a spoiler-free review on Challengers. Directed by Luca Guadagnino, the director who brought us Call Me By Your Name, Suspiria, and Bones and All. The film stars Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor. The movie centers on Tashi, played by Zendaya, a promising tennis player turned coach who has turned her husband Art, played by Mike Feist, from just an okay player to a world famous tennis champion. But due to a recent losing streak, she makes him play in a challengers event against his former best friend, Patrick, played by Josh O'Connor. In one of my last videos, I and a friend of mine gave our initial reaction to this movie as we were just walking out of the theater. And so now I'm here wanting to give my review on the film. Finally, I am so sorry for the wait, but here I am. So let's get into it. The story overall, I found it very intriguing. I might have found it more intriguing than Call Me By Your Name, or at least just in a different way. And it honestly has nothing to do with the sex moments whatsoever. It has more to do with the way Luca, the director, decided to take the love triangle concept and, how can I say, frame it in a way that I have never seen anybody do a love triangle like this before. Based on pretty much based on codependency and a drive to win and the support to keep a person winning, or even just keeping them doing what you wish for them to do. So I guess you could also say a form of control. And it was interesting how it ties the three main characters in this film together with that triangle, because it was like, when I think of a love triangle, I think of it in a basic way, that it's like, okay, we have three people in this triangle that want love and that all deserve love. But this love triangle is based on something more complex than just the love dynamic. It is a relationship between all of them and to each other, but it still is more profound than just about the love factor in it, which is what I really enjoyed in this film. Not to say that that's the only thing I enjoyed in this film. I also enjoyed the dynamics of these three characters, Tashi and Art and Patrick, that none of these characters, in my opinion, are anything close to perfect or fully good characters. And you can somewhat see that from watching the trailer for this film, that they all have their own goals, they all have their own motivations and ends that they want to meet in doing things that they do. And they also all have their own flaws. So no one is clean whatsoever. And that is what I find interesting, is the fact that, okay, we have a love triangle between three of these characters that are flawed in their own way, but yet Luca makes it work. He makes the love triangle work, and he keeps you engaged as a audience member. So let's just say, yes, I'm speaking too much about the love triangle because I love watching films that have a good love triangle, but there is so much more to it than just that. And just even with the game of tennis and comparing it to getting into a relationship, being in a relationship when you're playing the game of tennis, I definitely would have never thought anything about that. If it weren't for this film, I would have just saw tennis as simply just another game, another sport that people love watching, which is entertaining, I'll give you that. Well, this film takes that game and just, how can I say, really makes you think as the players are playing one another. And it makes you think, is it truly about winning, or is it truly about being the best, or is it about something even deeper than that? And apart from all of that, the chemistry between these three characters is just insanely good. I can't deny that, and I don't think anybody else that has seen this film can deny it. And in a way, the story itself sort of takes me back to other films, like it definitely takes me back to films like Black Swan and interestingly enough, The Devil Wears Prada and Whiplash, because the film is basically, it's centered in a world, it's centered in the tennis world, like how those films were centered in their own worlds. For Black Swan, it was the world of ballet. For The Devil Wears Prada, it was the world of fashion, and Whiplash, music. And so in this film, the world is the tennis playing world, and these characters are at the center of it, trying to live their lives intertwined in that world and trying to figure out where to go from one point to another within that world. And so it definitely took me back to films like that, and that's what I found interesting, because it was definitely a kind of like this could have just been a simple tennis film with some relationships involved, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like it is intertwined very well with one another, with the world and with the characters living within that world and the relationships involved within that world, and how that world can sometimes have an effect on the relationships that are formed. Let's talk about the cast for a bit, why don't we? I mean, the actors, they did an excellent job. I think that they did an excellent job in this film portraying the characters that they were. And of course, when it comes down to it, the dynamics, the chemistry, it was just so believable. I felt the realism in those relationships, no matter how messy they got, or no matter how much it really felt like there was something real going on, or something completely off kilter going on within those relationships. They were believable, in my opinion. So let's start with Zendaya. And she does not need no introduction whatsoever on this, but I can assure you, if you have seen shows like Euphoria, if you have seen Doom Part 1, Doom Part 2, if you have seen the Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far Away From Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, you know who I'm talking about when I mention the name Zendaya. So she doesn't need no introduction on this channel whatsoever. And she plays Tashi Duncan, a up-and-coming tennis player who is well on the rise, but she is definitely a very interesting and complex female character. And not just a complex female character, I think that she's a strong female character in this film, because it really, and when you're watching her in this film as the character, you can see that her character is pretty much the one in control. Even at moments where you think that maybe she isn't in control, she still is, because Tashi is very calculative and has these moments of a manipulative personality, but is able to mask it well behind just her sweet and also just like, how can I say, above it all kind of demeanor at times. But she is definitely she's a powerhouse in this film. She is playing, and Zendaya is already a powerhouse in my opinion, but she is playing a powerhouse, just a different type of powerhouse in this film. A woman who is very much competitive and knows what she wants, and she will do what it takes to keep it going, and she's just fabulous. Let's just say that. not to say that her character doesn't have flaws in this film. There are moments where you notice that she is neglectful in certain areas of her life, all because she is so focused on tennis. She's so focused on the competition of it all. She's focused on staying in tune with what is going on within the world of tennis, that it seems like at times she really doesn't care about anything else that's going on around her. And so she's an interesting character, and also just very complicated. And that to me was very real. And it was just also nice to see her play an adult character. If you know what I mean. I mean, no disrespect to the characters that she plays, but it was nice to see her play a character that's pretty much around her age and not trying to portray a high schooler or someone that's just, young. Of course, she looks young for her age, and she definitely, I'll just say she's a youthful looking young woman, and that's awesome. But it was nice to see her play an adult in this film, because it was just like, and seeing how effortless she was in portraying this character, because people could have easily thought, nah, she can't pull this off because it seems way too much adult than what she has portrayed in other films, but she proved us wrong in this film. So I was proud to see that. Let's move on to Mike Faist as Art Donaldson. And I thought that his portrayal of this character was really superb. You may know him from his theater work that he has done, or you may know him from the West Side Story as the main character's best friend, Riff, which I thought he did an excellent job in that film as that character. And so I was happy to see him move on to doing other films as well. And he's gonna be in the upcoming film Bike Riders starring Austin Butler and Jodie Comer. And so he's going to be starring alongside them, so I can't wait to see that when it comes out. I think that would be very interesting to see what kind of role he plays in that. But in this film, he plays Art Donaldson, who is in his own way, a promising tennis player. He's a tennis player with a lot of potential, but not a lot of self-confidence when it comes down to being a tennis player. And also, he definitely comes across as that sweet, kind of like nice boy next door, nice guy next door kind of thing, and has this kind of like sheepish, sweet demeanor to him. But in honesty, underneath all that, he too he's not an innocent character. He definitely has his moments of where he schemes, he plots, and maybe even, how could I say, in a way cheats in his own way to get what he wants out of something. But the thing is, he keeps it all covered up underneath this sweet and kind and respectful, or at least more respectful than Patrick kind of demeanor. He comes across as a nice guy who is not entirely innocent, and also he has just this sincerity to him, this sincere demeanor that is like, hey, I understand you and I get you in a way that you are a person, not this thing, this trophy that needs to be won kind of thing. So he has that going for himself as this character, and it shows. You would easily think that, nah, he doesn't have any ulterior motives. He's not trying to get something out of this. He's a really great guy. But then you don't know until you really get to know a person. And he did a great job of making me feel for him when certain things happen to him in the film, and also at times kind of makes you feel like, man, that I get what you're saying, I really do, but at the same time you kind of did put yourself in this situation by the choices that you have chosen. And so it just comes, you reap what you sow, and the consequences of our actions do come eventually. But other than that, it's pretty much, I think he did a good job as this character. And then there is Patrick, played by Josh O'Connor, who is pretty much the opposite, if not the inverse, to Art. You may know Josh from shows like The Durrells, or most notably The Crown, where he plays Prince Charles of Wales, which I think he does pretty good in that show. If you haven't checked it out, I would recommend checking that show out. But in here, he plays a good tennis player, a really good tennis player, but not as gifted as Art is at the game of tennis. But the thing that makes you believe that he is that good is because of the confidence that he has. He has this swagger, he has this carefree style of how he plays, where he really doesn't care about not the rules, but the technique of how to be a good tennis player. He's more about just what it takes to win as a tennis player. He is that good at, being on a winning streak, even though he is not the most naturally talented of tennis players. And he also has a history with both Tashi and Art, and so what you will see if you see this film, that it is, and so much so that it kind of is like when one of them gets with him, things just come full circle in very interesting ways, and also just really, how can I say, it strikes a chord with each of them, with Tashi and with Art when he comes around. So he's that kind of character where it's like he keeps you on your toes, but the thing of the matter of him having his own flaws is that he is not very self-disciplined. He doesn't really care about what comes after what he plans to do, really. It's like he plans to do something and he goes for it, but he doesn't think of the aftermath once he does it. He thinks more about just in the moment, that if I do this, I'm gonna get this. So I need to do this, and I am going to do this kind of mentality. But he doesn't think about, well, what if I don't get it? Or what if this doesn't work out the way that I'm hoping that it does, or planning for it to? And that's just the kind of character he is. He's brash and very cocky, but at the same time, he has his own personal struggles that he's dealing with in this film that push him to do certain things, to plan certain things out in a way. It's a very interesting, how can I say, his dynamic is very interesting as a character. And then when he is in the room with either Tashi or Art, it's interesting how he sort of, not that he flips on a dime, but it's like he has this other side to him that comes out when he's with either one of them. And he doesn't show weakness. He doesn't show that, yeah, I'm dealing with a lot. He's just like, oh well, this is what's up, but it's no big deal. I got this. Even though deep down he knows that he may be kind of screwed. The thing that I love about Josh playing him is that he brings this sort of edge to Patrick that is very much about just he has this impulsiveness that he brings to the character, which definitely the character does have that, based on how much he truly is so confident in himself that at times it almost seems like overconfidence. But at the same time, there is that weak point within his confidence that can spew out in ways where it's more like out of desperation of his own situation, but he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't show weakness behind that, in front of all that desperation that he feels within himself and what he's dealing with. He just still plays along with everything's all good kind of demeanor, and I'm all good, I am going to win this thing, so no worries. But that is not the reality for him. But because Josh is able to believably make us think that, yeah, he may not have it all together, but he'll be fine because he doesn't really fear anything. He doesn't really worry about anything. So it seems like he has, if not he definitely doesn't have a good head on his shoulder, but he definitely has that, he is definitely confident enough in himself that is like, I am going to get out of this situation. I don't need help out of it. I will get out of this situation on my own, kind of thing. The themes of this movie, I felt, pretty much line up with the dynamic and the overall aspect of these characters and the game of tennis. I mean, themes like codependency, finding fulfillment in someone else, by living vicariously through them, or potential versus drive to win, and also just pretty much toxic relationships where people want something out of a relationship from someone that they can't easily get. And so it's kind of and it's almost like trifold how that works. Trifold. But either way, those themes, I felt like they really woven them together very well in this film. I mean, not to say that I haven't seen films that have done that pretty good. I thought that Renfield did a pretty good job when it came to exploring the themes of codependency and abusive relationships. Personally, I thought that. Other people may have thought, yeah, it could have been a little bit better. But with this film, I feel like everything is so interwoven very beautifully and at times even seem poetically in watching the films. And also the fact that when it comes to jumping from one point in time to another, it feels like it all still comes back in a way that makes sense. If it's not a complete full circle yet, it definitely is showing you that this is what led up to this, and this is why this is that way, kind of thing. And so I found that pretty interesting, how they use the themes to establish that, and also exploring these themes within the game of tennis and with just being a competitive tennis player. I thought that the cinematography work in this film was incredible. I mean, the camera work was so creative and brilliant, in my opinion, that it was there were points where the camera would switch from characters due to, viewing whose point of view we are truly focused on. And so the one that the camera switches on the longest, more than the others, is mainly the one that they're telling us that we need to be concerned about in this point. While the others, it's like they switch from that person, then quickly to another, and then to another person. But when you see the camera lingering on a certain character, it's almost like the camera is signaling to the audience that, yeah, this is the main focus right now, or this character is the one we're mainly are concerned with at this point, even with all that's going on around the character. And so I found that interesting. And also just the different, how can I say, the lighting, the color shades of this film almost felt kind of like, if not party like, definitely like as if you were somewhat at a like nightclub by the beach kind of thing. I know that sounds weird, but the best way I can describe it is that the use of color in this film was definitely not used sparingly or used for no reason. I feel like it still gives off a sense of like we are dealing with these young characters who have, and also relationships, and what does that feel like when you are dealing with relationships and when you're young, and how does that feel, especially when it feels good in the moment. I guess that's what I sort of got from that part of the cinematography. And also there are points where it's like when in the game of tennis, when the ball is being hit from one player to another, it almost feels like the ball, it has become our camera, because we are going at the same speed that the ball is going, or kind of like slow-mo wherever the ball is going. And I found that very interesting. And there were also shots where it just felt like as if you were, like somebody was filming the tennis court from the ground and looking above, like as if they were laying on the floor and filming what was going on the tennis court from the ground and seeing what's happening above them. I found that very interesting shots, because I don't know, I just never really seen shots like that too often. Maybe because I don't see too many films, but either way, I found the use that they did that with this film very interesting. So cinematography was good. The music in the film, don't get me started. I was actually really impressed with how they used music in this film. I mean, they used songs from like Hot in Here by Nelly, and also other songs. I think they had a Rihanna song playing in the film as well. But as far as like the score itself was created by the famous composer duo, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, which you may know some of their score work from The Social Network, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl. If you've seen any of those movies, you know the music that I'm talking about. And there's something about their music that feels like it's not just meant to be a score. It's meant to be something that follows what is going on in each scene. Like it's supposed to, like, either if things are heightening, you feel the music traveling with the heightening of whatever is going on in the scene between characters, or whatever is going on in the background kind of thing. And so it's almost like it's like a rhythmic mapping, and that's the best way I describe their music. It's like a mapping of what is going on, and the music is just there to, if not heighten the experience of what's going on, it's definitely following in the beats of what is happening in the scene. And so I always liked their score, and I thought that this one was no different. I thought that this score was really amazing. So good job on that, guys. There are points in that score where it feels like the music is giving off some kind of surreal and yet turbulent type of feel to what is going on. And it matches the vibe and tone of the film, in my opinion. Okay, with all that being said, Challengers, I thought, was quite the film, and it pulled me in completely. I did not get bored whatsoever watching this film. And whether you love tennis or not, with these characters and the journey that they go on being in this Challengers event, I felt like it was something. I'll just say that it was definitely something worth the viewing. But before I let you know my full thoughts on it, let's get to my rating. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to give this film a high and enthusiastic 9.5. I really enjoyed this film. It was worth the watch. It was worth the just the viewing of the tennis games and whatnot. And I feel like even if you don't like tennis, you would still like this film because it really pulls you in to the story of what's going on between these three characters. And the characters also pull you in with just their little dynamics, their little quirks, their flaws. Everything works together to create what I would describe it as another one of Luca Guadagnino's masterpieces, in my opinion. So I highly recommend you go see this film if you haven't seen it yet. I'm sure it's going to be coming to streaming as well because, I mean, it's been in the theater long enough. And again, I'm sorry for being so late on giving this review. Just got busy, but I'm trying to do what I can for y'all. I'm trying to provide you guys with the insights for these films coming out, and it is summer now, so that means a whole lot of other movies are coming out and I need to figure out which ones I'm gonna do next. But before I do that, I need to finish the ones that I promised y'all that I would do. So next time, I will be back with my movie review on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So look forward to that. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to do it as just a spoiler-free review or a complete all spoilers review. I'll figure that out. If you guys would want to see a spoilers review on that film, please let me know in the comments section down below. So with all that being said, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any thoughts on this film, I would love to hear them. So please leave them down in the comments section below. And with that being said, I do appreciate you all being patient with me as I try to get these films out, these videos out as quick as I can. And hopefully, like I said, soon I will be back with my review on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And I know that I still owe you guys a Them Season 2 review, or a discussion more so, because like I said, this show is so interesting and so crazy at the same time. I'm not going to be able to just do a review on this. It's going to be a discussion, and it's going to be hard, it's going to be interesting, it's going to be twisted, but we'll get there. Let's just say that I'm still on the high of the craze of this season 2, so bear with me as I try to work on that video, but I'll get it out to you guys as soon as I can. Either way, I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed day today, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.